Hello dear viewers, my name is Nino and you're watching Nino's product reviews, and today we're going to take a look at the Creev Mark 5 Plus. Now you will notice that this phone is actually white and pink at the back. The reason for that is that this phone is actually a present for my girlfriend, so don't be shocked about the girly appearance of the phone and the fact that also the setup later will be somewhat girly. I just wanted to mention it. Now before we actually move on to the actual functions of the phone, I would like to address the specs as always. As you can see, this is a 5.5 inch phone, 720p display. We have 5 touch display, so it can react to 5 simultaneous touches. The CPU is a MTK 6737 core, quad-core processor with a clocking speed of 1.3 GHz per clock. It's a 64-bit processor. The GPU is a Mali 720, which is a very decent GPU, and we have 2 GB of RAM, 16 GB of ROM. You can expand that up with a microSD card of up to 64 gigs. The battery is 3000 milliamperes, and it's more than enough. And we have fairly stock looking Android 6.0 with minimal changes, which will probably not disturb anyone. They're basically some icons and stuff like that, it's nothing great. Now if we look at the back of the phone, we'll also notice that the phone supports 2 SIM cards at the same time simultaneously with the micro SD card. So that's something that I always praise, because I've actually seen phones that offer you either 2 SIM cards or a SIM card and a micro SD card. So I always like it if you have the option to use all 3 at the same time, because why the hell not? They barely take space. This should not be something that is an issue, but we see it rarely, especially if you buy your phone in somewhere in the West. Dual SIM cards configurations are still very rare. The big companies are saving money there. They just know we're gonna buy it anyway, and they sell it expensive. So these Chinese phones are actually, well, in this case it's a Greek phone, if you want to be certain. Creev is a Greek company, are actually offering us exactly what many of us need. And if we take a closer look at the phone itself, it feels very high quality. The build quality is excellent. We have these metal bezels on the side. The back plastic is very nice and smooth, does not take any fingerprints. The display feels pretty nice. Later we'll see the performance of the display. And ultimately we have as I've mentioned, 3000 milliampere battery inside, and while that battery might not be huge, it is enough to deliver a full day of average amount of use. Now I'm saying average because of course some people are gonna use this much more intensively than others. They're gonna play games and stuff. My girlfriend rarely plays games on her phone, but she does a lot of social networking, so that's something that you might see. But in any case, this thing can hold itself for about a full day without issues if you don't overuse it, of course. Now other than that, it has a very nice weight to itself. We see one speaker positioned at the back of the device. That's one of those things actually that I'm not so happy about, because I prefer them if they're at the bottom, because if the phone is lying somewhere, it's a bit quieter, and that can be disturbing. You might not hear it if you're far. Now when it comes to the browsing experience, you'll notice that it is very snappy. While it is only a quad-core processor with a 1.3 GHz stack rate, it still works very well. And ignore the roses on the keyboard. Again, it wasn't my design choice. So if we even go to a page like the mirror, you'll see the Wi-Fi is pretty fast in this case. It's opening this page, which is full with pictures. It might take a moment, and while it's loading, if you try to do things like pinch to zoom, of course you're going to notice minor slowdowns here and there, but it's absolutely satisfactory, the whole performance of the phone. And here we have a look at what's left of the if you use the phone, and what basically you have as a ROM space, and what you can expand by using your micro SD card. And since you have the possibility to change how the micro SD card is being used, because it is Android 6.0, you could technically use it as an expansion of your normal space inside the phone. This is one of the greatest functions of Android 6.0, and one of the functions I really love. Now when it comes to the camera, you will notice that the camera is nothing to brag about. Now while the pictures are decent, the low light pictures are well, they're fairly grainy sometimes, so the camera is not gonna blow your mind. But this is where they usually save when they make a phone like this. I think it's absolutely sufficient. I mean, it does offer enough in terms of quality from a phone like that. I wasn't expecting too much here, and I gotta tell you, I'm generally not disappointed, simply because my expectations were fairly low. But yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Now the front camera is 8 megapixels, the back camera is 13 megapixels, and as you can see, the pictures are okay, but they're nothing to blow your mind over. Even the selfie picture, you saw I had a lot of light coming straight at the camera. It was okay. It's doable. It's nothing extreme. Now when I run it on Antutu Test, you're going to see now that the result is at over 31,000, and that's a pretty good result as a matter of fact. Everything above 24,000 means that you can pretty much use the phone for most tasks without any issue. Even gaming is not going to be a problem, as you will see next. The games run fairly smoothly. When you go into really extreme graphics games, stuff like Asphalt 8, you will see that the graphics are still fairly smooth. Of course, it can get any better, but you know, for what this phone provides and the price that it demands, this is actually very, very good performance. And as you can see, you'll notice the frame rate here, for example, in Asphalt 8 is mostly very smooth, very nice. Disregard the fact that I suck at these games, but I've mentioned many times I'm not much of a player when it comes to phones as platforms. But yeah, as you can see, the display also performs very nicely. Now the colors obviously are gonna look much better if you see them with your own eyes. I just want to mention something interesting about this phone. When I ordered this phone, it looks worse in the pictures that the seller has made than it looks live. That's something very strange. In the pictures, it looks like it's gonna be somewhat cheap and plasticky, while when you get it, it has a nice weight to it and it feels very high quality. You know, if I ask someone on the street how much this phone cost, and the only reason why they might assume that it might be cheaper than the other phones is simply because they would see that the name is not very famous, you know, the brand. But other than that, this phone feels very high quality. Now this is another game where you can even see the frame rates at the top right. You can see we have a solid 30 to 50 frames per second. About, okay, 50 might be exaggerated, but 30 to 45 frames, let's call it that way. And it works very well with that. So, you know, most games you're gonna have absolutely no problems running with this phone. It's gonna be a pretty smooth experience, a pretty nice experience. So if you're looking for a phone that shouldn't cost more than, let's say, I think it was about 150 euro actually. If you don't want to spend more than 150, okay, it was actually 170, I believe. So let's just say under 200 euro phone. This is an excellent choice, and the prices are variable, obviously, depending on when and how you buy them. But it's all in all a very cheap phone, and it delivers superior quality. It has a nice display. 720p display does not sound like much, but I've said it many times. I personally find large resolution displays actually to be a problem because they drain the battery much faster. So if you have 720p, well, it might not be a good display for VR, for example. If you want to use that, I'd rather, you know, I'd suggest going at least 1080. But for everything else, like everyday use, 720p is more than enough, and it's going to help your battery last that much longer, which is really great to have. Other than that, there's not much to say here. Call quality and stuff like that, I don't usually address these things because phones always deliver in that aspect. I haven't seen one in years where I said the call quality is horrible. I will include links to Amazon. Just check the description of this video. I would like to thank you for watching it. I hope you liked it, and I hope to see you next time.